3, 2, 1. What's up, dudes? So, obviously, Mr. Moody here, and I'm with my friends, Keirstin and Rob, who own Pittsburgh Shirt Company. They've done a lot of work for me, and they kick ass at what they do, which is also beneficial. But they are probably the epitome of, what we would call entrepreneurs. So they've have some growing pains and some growing highs. So they're doing really well. They do, like I said, they do exceptional work. But we're just gonna, shoot the shit, do a little Q&A, and take their advice to heart, because this fits right into your field. So welcome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be in and out of the screen. So first question, why don't you tell these guys a little bit about your company, your business, and what made you guys do this? What made you want to start this business? So, floor is yours.
All right. So when I was in college, I majored in community programs for Americans with disabilities, and there is a print facility in Newcastle that helped individuals with disabilities have gainful employment. And part of my job was to help them break down the screen printing process into smaller chunks to help folks with disabilities, become a part of that process in a way that was valuable to that company. So I kind of got interested in screen printing then, and it took me 10 years until we were moving home from Louisiana to make that come full circle when we wanted to start our own business. I was studying graphic design at LSU, and we decided we were going to get married, and we decided we wanted to move home to Pittsburgh. And neither one of us really had a job, and we didn't have any kids or responsibilities, so we're going to start a business. And it was among a couple of ideas that we had, and really the most viable one is screen printing, because we both kind of had a background in it. I was doing graphic design, and she had done some screen printing early on.
I did printmaking in high school, and I was teaching elementary special education whenever I met Rob, and we both just had an itch to see if we could hack it at owning our own business and being self-employed. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and screen printing was something that we could afford the equipment and not ask anybody for money, and that was very important to us. We bought small pieces of equipment, and we could afford it without a loan. And when we
that was really important that we didn't have a lot of financial responsibility starting out, because you can get in over your head really easily buying equipment, and you think you can make payments until something happens. So we've always run our business from the standpoint of financial responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we were able to purchase small equipment, and then as we got jobs and saved up money, we got slightly larger equipment and continued that process until we were able to purchase a full automatic, which is a money printing machine, as they say. And
paid for it in cash.
Another reason that we really wanted to start our own business is I kind of have the logistics, operations, office, Excel spreadsheet kind of side of things down, and Rob is extremely handy and very determined to teach himself anything that's needed to run and operate a business, and he taught himself the process of doing the actual printing and production. So we're a good complement to each other. It really takes both sides to run a successful business.
So two things right there. Two things extremely important. One, you guys had to work other jobs.
Yeah, I was fully employed. I had a full-time 40 an hour a week job for the first 2 years that we started the business, and Rob worked full to part-time job for the first.
I was bartending, and then I worked at Starbucks, and then I was juicing at Whole Foods because it was an after-hours job, and it was easy to fit in with a daily schedule. So we found whatever we could get our hands on that put money in our pockets and kept this business running and allowed us the freedom to kind of move with the money.
We would leave work after working 40 hours that week, 8-hour day, 9-hour day, and then head to my brother's basement where we started the business and print for 8 hours in the basement. And so it was definitely
it's punishing.
Yeah. A lot of hard work and a lot of hours put in to get it to this point.
Right. So had to work, had to have other jobs to sustain themselves, to even get the company going. And then two, which a lot of people really have this misperception, is that you guys didn't go to banks and ask for all these loans and shit. So if you want to start something, you have the ability to do it, but you do have to have discipline have to have, the vision to control your, your spending.
Yeah,
and
it's
your
not instant
expenses.
freedom. You're either going to take on a loan and then be responsible to that bank and that loan that you owe the money to, or you're going to do it yourself and you're going to be responsible to yourself to that financial commitment that you've made.
Yeah.
So it's not immediate freedom.
And a bank is going to want to see a track record and what kind of experience you have. And if you don't have that, like, they're probably not going to give you the money. And if you do it yourself, I mean, there's a feeling of pride. There's, you can do it, and you don't need anyone's permission to go.
Yeah, those are so, and I try to tell these guys that, they get a book, right? Everyone gets a book for a class, right?
Okay.
And it's entrepreneurship, and I try to explain to them, like, entrepreneurship's a fancy word for owning your own business, and that can mean anything from being a commercial plumber. You can be you can own your own delivery business. It can be a pizza shop, so. There's a section in the book about writing a business plan and the parts of a business plan and things like that. And that would be a component that you would have to present to a bank for financial, to solidify any type of financial monies that you would utilize or allocate for your business. But like, we have a common friend, Burgers. They do the apparel for Burgers for Fury, and like it was a conversation that he and I had too. Like he's like, I don't have a business plan. I got this idea.
Yeah.
And like you're either
Well, he had experience, and he's got some noticeable talent. And
Right.
like, when you have that going for you, and you've already started the business, you have the experience. Like, that's when a bank will say, like, all right, this guy's got it.
Yeah.
This guy gets it.
And
Yeah.
we definitely did take it seriously, and we had sit-down meeting where we had agendas that we wrote out for ourselves, and having a commitment and not having to be totally off the cuff, I think definitely made us successful in terms of setting clear goals and having a vision for where we wanted to be in 6 months to 1 year to 3 years to 5 years, and we really achieved most of those things that we set out to do, if not all of them.
Yeah.
And so having a clear vision for where you want to go, writing it down,
A
and
clear,
then-
realistic vision.
Yeah.
and then executing every day toward that goal is super important if you want to be successful in the way that you want to be specifically.
I think that's commendable because I think that it's, I'm a big person to write things down. It holds you accountable.
Yeah, nobody else is gonna do that. If you own your own business, you can get up whenever you want, but then it's up to you to get the work done.
And a lot of people are solo entrepreneurs, and in that case, it's good to have an accountability partner and someone, like, even if it's someone you're just talking to about your ideas, and if they can help keep you accountable, it's just like a workout plan. Like,
Yeah.
you might not work out together with that person every single day, but like, they like, hey man, how's it going? Like, how's this going? And they keep you accountable to what you're doing.
Sure.
And if you find yourself getting upset with those people, like, maybe you're not staying accountable to yourself as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Those are all good checkpoints. I think that those are important too because I don't think a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? There's so many distractions. It's so easy to get, kind of be sidebarred by something else that, removes your focal point for, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's probably the reason why a lot of businesses fail.
I think it's easy too to feel like you're not achieving the things you wanted if you don't write them down, and we're really hard on ourselves. I think, again, that's a characteristic of a lot of entrepreneurs, is you demand a lot of yourself, and there are a lot of times when we're down on ourselves and people around us are able to say, look how much you guys really have accomplished, look how much you've done in just 6 years. A lot of businesses fail in the first 5 years, or that statistic. And
we've had plenty of opportunities to fail. Don't get me wrong. Like, and when those opportunities to fail arise, if you do fail, I mean, it is okay to fail, but you also need to not be so hard on yourself that it affects everything going forward. And you can pick yourself up from those failures and move on if you forgive yourself, but also learn that lesson.
Yeah, I think that's important too. Don't dwell on them too long.
yeah.
So, okay, that's cool. Question 2, and this is going to be super open-ended, and I'm sure, when you're owning your own business, people could write books on just this question alone, but like, can you give these guys like some examples of like some highs and lows and, what lessons, maybe some quick lessons that,
Yeah.
they can learn from?
Our first high, I'd say, and probably a joint low was landing our first client, which was originally a 250-piece job, and we were elated, and all of a sudden that 250-piece job doubled overnight, and she's like, I need 600 shirts at the end of this week, and we're like, well, I don't think there's enough time in the day to print all this stuff that you need.
But we said yes.
But we said yes, and she's like, you're the professionals, you can make it work. We're like, are we?
We sold ourselves really well, and we had insufficient equipment, and we started our business on the card table that's over in the corner, and so yeah, we did our very best, and the shirts did not look very great, and
they half washed out.
We were printed for 48 hours straight overnight, and I think we cried into the ink, and I remember sitting there and doing the calculations and turning to him and saying, there are not enough seconds in the next 24 hours to print the number of shirts that we have to print. So knowing that we were currently failing, but pushing through that, delivering essentially all of the pieces on time, and failing at that job, we never got that client back.
We got her back for a couple of jobs, but she went somewhere else long term, and that's a pretty big burden to bear. Even to this day, like I still want to win that client back, and it's just one of those things. It's like, I know we tried to do right by her, and it's like you must do right by your clients. If you think that if you're in this for yourself, like no, you're in this to serve your clients. Like you don't have a boss, you have every single client that comes through is your boss. So never forget that.
Yeah. But the high that came from that, so that was a real low. I'm like, man, we really kind of failed at that. But we forged ahead, and the money that we still made from that job paid for our first conveyor dryer. And that made the next job a lot easier. And we learned a lot about multicolor printing and curing. And so the failure that we had in our first job led to the highs of the next job being more successful and having better equipment. And so we made mistakes. I mean, I can't even tell you how many dozens of shirts we misprinted in those first few years. But every mistake we made, we learned something from it and got better. And definitely a ton of credit to Rob for forging through, teaching himself the technical aspect of all of the different things that can go wrong in printing a t-shirt. It seems really straightforward, but there's always opportunity for things to go wrong.
I love to cook, and one of the ways I got good at cooking was I made a lot of mistakes. And when you eat your mistakes, you really learn fast. And we keep a stack of our shirts here, not just for test printing, but we look through them, we test wash them, we look at the print, and we learn from those prints. So it might be a stack of mistakes, but it is basically a book of what not to do and how not to do it next time.
Right.
Some other highs we've had, we landed a large national client a couple years into the business. We sold ourselves again really well. We made a personal connection with them, and the day that we got the phone call awarding us that contract, we jumped up and down and, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And I think 30 seconds after celebrating, we turned to each other and go, how are we going to do this? And so that was a super high, having a guaranteed book of business for that year, knowing we were going to be able to support ourselves and be full-time. That was the week that I had quit my full-time job to jump in with both feet to this, so that was a huge win. And we learned a lot. Again, that's kind of how we were able to pay for this equipment in cash, which was amazing. But a couple years later, we had a great relationship with that client, and they had a turnover in their executive leadership, and they had a personal relationship with another shop, and no matter what we did, they chose to go with another client. And so the day that we walked into their office to recap the year, and they said, hey, thanks for everything, we're going with somebody else, that was a real low. So
it took us enormously by surprise, because we went in thinking this was going to be a year-end meeting, and it was thank you very much for your service, we'll see you later kind of thing.
So that was a real low, and it's a moment where you really question, how are we going to get through this? But all you can remember is you've been through difficult things before, you've overcome difficult things before, and you can do it again. And it really gave us an opportunity to look at our current book of business, and we were able to forge even better relationships with existing clients, pivot a little bit and focus on some different things that were really more meaningful to us. Instead of just getting bigger and bigger. That's not always success. It's not always the goal for a business to just continue to grow and grow.
It can be unsustainable for some people, and there's you hear about downsizing, you hear about growing, but what you don't hear about is right-sizing your business for what is manageable to you.
And staying lean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny you say that. There's a couple things there. One, if like these guys, and you're extremely passionate about what it is that you're doing. I know for myself, I think every person, every kid I run into, they should be training with me. Why aren't they running with me? What do you mean you're going somewhere else? I mean, that's like bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, so when you're passionate about something, you take pride in it because you wholeheartedly believe in your work ethic and the time and hours that you put into what you're doing. So you value your dedication to your craft, and then it can be disappointing because when people shift, and it happens all the time.
I took it very personally, I'm not gonna lie, and it's, if you are business savvy and you are good at maintaining personal relationships, that's not something you're gonna do, and you can complain to other people, but always try to maintain a professional demeanor, and I'm definitely not afraid to call people out, and that person who fired us said, it's not business, or it's not personal, it's business. Right. Like, no, I mean, it's hard not to take it personally when it's a two-person business. So absolutely. It can seem very personal, but oftentimes it's really not. You need to pick yourself up and move on.
And these guys, without even asking them the question, made an excellent point that I talked to other friends of mine who own businesses, and some of the best advice I ever received years and years ago, like probably 15 years, a guy that owned his own business said, don't ever create something you can't manage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't just think because someone else is doing something, you need to automatically adopt that process or that technology or whatever the hell it might be. If you can't manage it or facilitate it into your workflow process, it becomes like a bottleneck or a drag or something that can be problematic.
It's surprisingly easy to get in over your head. And again, equipment, which requires maintenance, which requires your understanding of it, and to just think that a piece of equipment is going to solve your problem or make things easier, that's definitely not always the case.
No. If you're a business with equipment, like, either be ready to know how to work on it or be ready to write a check for someone who does. And it's never cheap. We're fortunate that the person that works on our equipment lives in Pittsburgh, and we don't have to pay airfare and hotel, which a lot of businesses of our type have to do. And he's close to retirement, so we kind of lucked out, and I've learned how to work on this press, and we fixed our embroidery machine, we fixed our digital printer, and
our heat press, everything.
Literally every single piece of equipment we've had has broken, and we've had to either know how to fix it or you have to be resourceful. And make things work.
And the more you grow, when you start hiring employees, that's a whole other can of worms. There's always going to be people problems. It doesn't matter how much technology you have, how savvy you are. People are always difficult, and employees, you can count on them, and then there will be times whenever it comes down to you being there to do the work, no matter how many people you hire. So growth is not always the definition of success. The other thing in terms of highs and lows that I would say, you can plan all you want, you can have the best opportunity for yourself, but there are still variables that will happen that are out of your control. We had a bad landlord at our first location outside of my brother's basement who, no matter what we did, would not fix our ceiling, and it ended up caving in on our equipment. We had significant water damage, we lost a lot of inventory, we lost a machine, and we were in litigation for 14 months with that landlord to reach a settlement. And that didn't help us in the meantime. And fortunately, I will say document, always take pictures, always have emails, have things in writing, protect yourself, because there will be things that happen that are out of your control. And the best thing you can do is protect yourself in that way.
Right. Very cool. So there's a lot there. we compressed a lot. There's a lot of good information there. Okay, so how about this? Fits right in with all the small businesses I've spoken to. But how do you guys market or advertise, or what's?
So really early on, I worked a couple of jobs where I had a lot of people come through all day long. You know, I was selling, working at Starbucks and bartending. Those are two jobs where you have to learn how to talk to people and talk about yourself, and people always ask, what do you do in your spare time, or what do you do? And like, I would find out if those people own their own businesses, whatever it was, and you create a personal connection. And so it was a lot of one-to-one word-of-mouth marketing at first, and we landed our first 2 big clients because of social media, and I certainly give a lot of credence to it, but I think your high-quality personal contacts are going to come from you hitting the road and knocking on doors, or cold calling. And you also have to find a client that fits for you, and you have to know who you are as a business. So it's really easy to just throw ads up on Facebook, but if you don't know who you're targeting, if you don't have a particular demographic, you're just going to be throwing your money away. And you can do mailers all day long, but I don't know how many people still get mail, but when I get mail and there's flyers, like garbage.
Right.
So
Yep.
you want to make sure that the time that you spend on sales is high quality time, and you're not just doing scattershot marketing.
Right.
I had the advantage of working in radio and doing, I worked at an internet business where I worked at sales for a long time, so it kind of came naturally to me. But if you are confident in what you do and you know what you're talking about, you're going to be able to sell yourself.
I'd say the other side of it too is not just the how to win clients, but how to keep them.
Yes.
There's always another shop out there that will do
Yeah.
it cheaper, who
Yeah.
will offer them something for free to win them over. So it's as important, and it's more lucrative to keep a client than it may be to win a new one. So we do a lot of follow-up with our clients. We reach out to them personally. We write handwritten thank you notes that we mail to our clients to reach out.
I don't do email. We don't do email marketing ever. It's kind of a waste of our time. Again, it's very personal what we do. So we know our clients, we understand them, and we understand their needs. So when you can understand or anticipate a need, you're extremely valuable to your clients.
We will call them, we'll stop into their business and ask them, what do you need that we might be able to help you out with? And so we've actually added services and changed some of the things that we have done based on our client feedback, and that's helped to keep them with us, expand the business that they do with us, and keep a continuous book of business. So don't just think about the upfront marketing and how to win people over, but how to keep them, because there's always competition out there who will take clients away from you.
That's
And
an awesome point, though.
Yeah, and if you're selling on a value proposition, if you're going to do something low cost,
Yep.
be really careful of that,
Yeah.
because your clients are going to get used to that as your price point, and you're going to wear yourself out serving someone and not really making the money that you deserve. And like, don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. If you know it takes you time to do something, charge for it, because you will actually be happier. And people might say, well, like, so-and-so does it cheaper. Like, great. You can't always compare apples to apples. Even if they bring a price down the road to you, like, can you beat this price? Like, what kind of shirt is it on? How long, like, what kind of print is it? Like, there are so many variables that go into cost. Never compare yourself to your competitors on cost.
Right.
That's some of the best advice we got early on was in your bidding, if you're not losing a certain percentage of the bids that you enter, you're not charging enough money.
Right.
And that will lead to your downfall really quickly. If you're not charging enough, your time is your most valuable asset as a business owner.
Yeah.
And if you're losing a lot of clients, take a look at what they all might have in common. But there's always going to be something in business called churn, and it's natural, and you can lose clients and gain clients. Don't get scared away by losing a few clients, in rapid succession. It happened to us. You can't get down on yourself. And there's a book I read a long time ago called "Where'd My Cheese Go?" And it's about chasing the money,
Right.
and not getting down on yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of times folks, when you're starting off a business, they're so zeroed in and like tunnel vision on acquiring clients, that their client retention structure, that their customer service ends up being, slightly less than average or something like that, and then it becomes detrimental. Then you end up just chasing price points all the time. And if I tell people, I mean, I'm not. But these big box stores, if people expect that same type of price point, you're going to get that type of quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, my price point oftentimes will dictate the type of client that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you want good clients. Your clients want a good product, but you want good clients as a
Yeah.
business owner too. You know, so it's
That's
two-way.
fast, cheap, and good triangle.
Yeah.
Pick two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, good stuff there. Okay. Last question for you guys. So these guys are all, you have video students, web development and graphic artists, and so I just call them designers as a whole. But if you had any advice, if they were looking to start their own company, or something they wanted to kind of get into freelance, just some random advice you'd kind of offer to them.
Do it sooner than later. The difference between an entrepreneur and other people is that entrepreneurs start. They start doing it. There's always going to be, you can have the best laid plan, you can have everything laid out, you know exactly what you're going to do, and there will still be things that come up that you didn't expect. There will still be challenges you have to overcome. So, I mean, that's, people tell us all the time, like, oh man, we admire you so much. Like, how did you do it? It's like, we just started. We just started doing it. And we hustled a lot. A lot. It was a lot of long days, long nights. But we had a drive and a passion to do what we wanted to do. There were a lot of people who told us not to do it. And so you have to hear that and help you focus on what you want to do and hone your plan, but then tune it out and continue to do it anyways.
Really good advice. I mean, I can remember when I went out and bought the first press, Keirstin's like, oh, we're doing this. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you either talk about it or you're going to be about it.
Yeah.
I'm a total planner. I'm an overanalyzer. I'm an overthinker. And if it was not for him, we would not be doing this. Because I would have waited for the perfect moment. But he is definitely the kind of person who, I'm going to buy it and figure it out and maybe break it. And then I'm going to fix it. And
respect the process, but then break it and just get started. Just start doing it and pick up the hammer and nail and just start going.
One client leads to 3 clients, leads to 10 clients. So just start doing it.
And the other part of that is don't take on more than you can chew, because if you get caught up trying to do too much for too many people, the quality of your work is going to drop. So start doing it, but start small, make it manageable, and please the clients that you have before you move on to getting new clients.
And don't take it personally if somebody doesn't give you a lot of direction and you do something that you think meets their needs and then they still don't like it anyways.
Yeah. And if their words and art direction for you are make it cool, charge $500.
Run away.
Like right away.
Run away.
Or charge a lot of money. And if they say when you are done with it, that's not what I was thinking of, that's not the client you want to work with.
Right.
Yeah. Be careful what you do for free.
Yes.
Set yourself up to show that what you do has value and that you are a service, not just a friend doing a service for free.
Yes.
So.
Good. Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Greatly appreciated.
Good luck.
I cannot, say enough great things about these guys. They do excellent work for me. Still got some things I'm working on. I'm always working on stuff that seems to never take flight too. So.
That's okay. And if you know anybody who needs t-shirts, check out pghshirtco.com.
There's your commercial.
There's your
There's your
plug.
advertising,
Yeah.
right? So, all right, guys. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Moody.
Yep.